Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our seminar series on Building Success, International Experiences in Developing Universities of Applied Sciences. Today is our last day, which is on the panel discussion topic, the impact of applied research and industry partnerships in applied sciences education. Let's welcome Professor Ma, who is the moderator for today. Professor Ma, please.
Thank you. So thank you all of you joining us today. So this seminar series actually 3 days started from Tuesday. For day one, that we have the theme on evolution of University of Applied Sciences. And yesterday, we have the theme on enhancing the role of institutions as University of Applied Sciences, focus more on faculty development and curriculum design and industry integration. And today is the third day of the seminar series. And we have the theme on impact of applied research and industry partnerships in applied science education. We focus more on applied research, collaborative research, and also networking and international knowledge exchange platform. Sure, we can also expand our discussion to more about UAS, although we have a focus on this. And we are so glad, let me put this away first. Yes, we are so glad that today we have two distinguished speakers. Dr. Heidi Rontu, Docent, Vice President, Education, Metropolia University of Applied Sciences, Finland. Thank you for joining us today. And we also have Professor Vesa Taatila, Rector and President, Turku University of Applied Sciences, Finland. So today we have two universities from Finland to share with us for today's topic. So let me stop the sharing. Yes. Okay. Yes. So I think it's time, and also most have joined us today. And we are so glad to share with your experience about University of Applied Sciences, both of you actually from the University of Sciences in Finland. Although there may be a lot of things that we do not know, may be very different from Hong Kong. We hope this whole seminar series that we can learn from all of you. So maybe I can give, first of all, we'll have the presentation by Dr. Rontu, and then we'll have the presentation by President Taatila, and around 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And then we open to the floor for question and answer to learn more from you. Yeah. So maybe you can start from Dr. Rontu.
Okay. Hello, and thank you again. And now I'm trying to share in the right way. In my first presentation on Tuesday. So if the audience is roughly the same, I could perhaps just very briefly go through the first slides and then focus on the RDI and what we do at Metropolia, and also the future development ideas of RDI specifically. So just a reminder, we're the largest University of Applied Sciences in Finland, and also the third largest university altogether in Finland. And as to RDI, it's crucial to understand the 4 education fields that we have, and the business, culture, healthcare, and social services, and technology, as they are all very important in how we build up our RDI functions also. So we're looking very much to find multi or interdisciplinary possibilities also within our different fields that we have represented. But then there are some figures of what we look like when you look at figures, but maybe we could then, and here also the sizes of our fields. So the biggest ones are technology, and then healthcare and social services. But having said that, also culture, field of culture and business is important in also how we build up our RDI functions. On Tuesday in my presentation, I was focusing more on the on education and how it is developed and also how it is structured. Now, how our education, I hope it sort of particularly perhaps by showing the concrete example of our innovation projects, I try to show that we are very much working in a way of integrating in different ways RDI also in our education functions. So you could call it a marriage with different levels, different depths, depending on the education program and also depending a little bit on the field. But nevertheless, there is an interrelationship between looking at from the education side with RDI functions, and now again I'm looking at it from the RDI side. So there is also always a connection in everything we do in RDI, at least in the initial phase. There is always the step one is to see whether and what kind of connections in our RDI targets or endeavors we could also have related to our education offerings and the development of education. So I just want to particularly emphasize this sort of interconnection, you could say. But then moving to the RDI and how it has been developed in Metropolia during the recent years. Here you can see how it is organized in our university. We have organized our RDI functions in 3 what we called innovation hubs. You can see here on this slide on the left corner, down the left corner, they are actually called phenomenon-based innovation hubs. And where the phenomenon comes is that is the characteristics of the RDI functions, and the phenomenon that we have recognized is in society at large, and specifically perhaps you could say, well, in society at large, but also something that relates very strongly to our industry and how and what is needed of our industry in Finland to enhance the development of our country. So these phenomenon that we have then recognized. So the phenomenon then that we have recognized are future-proof health and well-being. That's one hub. Secondly, clean and sustainable solutions. And thirdly, smart and creative city. So these are the phenomena that we currently have. We actually not so long ago, we had 5 different phenomena, and we reorganized our RDI functions into larger entities, and we decreased the number of innovation hubs from 5 to 3. And why I think it's important to understand the background of this is specifically what we are aiming at in our RDI functions. Also, there's a certain flexibility in how we work. So we want to sort of evaluate and re-evaluate our RDI functions and then act accordingly what we sort of gather for information or the analysis of our RDI functions, so we can then swiftly move to a new constellation to be able to better answer to the needs of, in this case, Finnish society and industry. And also then why we sort of decreased from 5 to 3 is that we could better in this way also link different fields, different perspectives, work together more sort of in a multidisciplinary manner. Sorry. Here in the picture, you can also see the methods or the tools that are also very intimately integrated into the RDI work. So we are using a lot of data analysis. using AI, ICT, obviously in different ways present. We have the biggest XR center in Europe, located in one of our on one of our campuses. So XR is also closely connected also to our RDI functions. Cybersecurity is an link, well, obviously linked to ICT, but also a separate theme of itself. 5G, automation, and IoT. So these are the you could say perspectives, but also providing concrete tools to our RDI projects, RDI functions that we see as providing a basis, sort of toolbox or tool basis, thematic basis for RDI functions in all the innovation hubs. And now then, let's see if I can show you a concrete example of one of the hubs, how it works, how the thinking goes. Hopefully you can see now this page.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I've learned something here of how to function in Zoom. Okay, so this is this is one of the hubs. This is the Future-Proof Health and Wellbeing Innovation Hub. Why I bring this up as an example is that this hub actually it has the longest history in our university as this kind of innovation hub. So it's also sort of in its development phase, it's furthest, you could say, and also in working in a multidisciplinary manner. So all our innovation hubs, so you could say, are in different phases of their development. And I want to strongly emphasize that we want to be here very flexible. As I said, we have now 3 innovation hubs. I do not know what the future looks like because we need to be able to respond quite swiftly to the needs of society and industry. So they could look different in a couple of years, who knows? Now, the one example of Future-Proof Health and Wellbeing Innovation Hub, how it works, is that if we look at the concrete examples of how we have sort of more specifically tried to define the aim and the target of the work in the hub. Here is the mission statement first that we just showed you here. And then we have what kind of solutions, what are the phenomena that we're looking solutions for, which are then organized into research and development programs that we have. And here you can see the research and development programs that we have. This is how the hub is organized. These research programs were just reformed last year. And this is more specifically where we want to bring out the multidisciplinary thinking, trying to establish connections between different fields, the fields that we have represented in Metropolia. So perhaps you can see here that there are connections between, let's say, for instance, social services. There's connections between social services, culture, technology, and then business also, not to mention health in itself. Then perhaps a sort of more sort of concrete achievement, and also a achievement and also proof of that we can make this work is one of, I'll show you one of the projects that where we are a partner, that we in this hub managed to build a partnership with is Health Proof Helsinki project. And I will click here and let's see if everything is positively with me. Yes, okay. So Health Proof Helsinki is a good example of what was achieved in how this innovation hub, but also our other hubs are working. That's why I'm bringing this up as an example. So all of our hubs and people working there, the most important thing you could say, well, I don't know if it is the most important, one important thing is a very intimate connection to society outside and to industry. And I perhaps could say that here if I compare universities of applied sciences, if I compare Metropolia University of Applied Sciences, for instance, with one of the partners that we also work with within health and social services, for instance, University of Helsinki, is that we can, as we have a very direct connection to industry, this is our strength. This is what we can bring into, for instance, this collaboration project. So we can bring our partners, who industry who wants to collaborate with us. Whereas, for instance, perhaps University of Helsinki is an example of there then having the strong basic science research, which they are, for instance, bringing into this project through their university hospital, for instance. Whereas they look forward to our ability to bring the industry partnership into this project, for instance. So we are coordinating this Health Proof Helsinki. We have City of Helsinki. City of Helsinki is also one of our owners, our biggest owner. And then, as I said, we also have University of Helsinki and particularly the university hospital here as a partner. And we've been able to create this in this tight partnership, and we are and we have the role of being a coordinator because of our connections to industry. So what we are offering through this is two companies. They can have they can try out in their product development process, for instance. They can try out with us as partner in this project, various stages. There can be early stage preclinical testing environments. That's what we can offer. Or perhaps research and testing environments and expertise in primary healthcare, social works. That's what City of Helsinki can offer. And then again, research environment, expertise in specialist care and diagnostics. And that's then the university hospital. So this is a very sort of a partnership that is adjusting to the needs of companies, industry who wants to develop, who wants to have the RDI input in their product development, for instance. And this is what we can provide, for instance, through these services. So these are some of the examples, and now let me see if I can go back to, or perhaps we can just stay here, because what I also maybe want to sort of emphasize now in our future, sort of what we see as our future targets, perhaps you could say in RDI, is to even more closely find different ways, different solutions for industry, and particularly perhaps where us as a University of Applied Sciences in Finland can be the primary partner, is the companies that are not so big, more sort of smaller companies who cannot themselves afford to have an RDI apartment, for instance, doing this kind of research, test out development work, where they need a partner like us, what Metropolia can be for a little bit smaller companies. This is what we are sort of where our strengths, I would say, at least in the capital area, is where we can also find in our RDI functions a potential growth, partnership growth. So perhaps I would like to add this. These are now big partners that I'm showing here in Health Proof Helsinki. City of Helsinki is the biggest employer in Finland, for instance, and also University Hospital. But as looking into future, besides these bigger partners, we are also looking for being able to help smaller companies in their need for RDI investment. Perhaps I could stop here. I think this is the main message that I wanted to share with you.
Thank you very much to the Rontu. So we have a better idea about the research development initiatives. So maybe we also hear from President Taatila first, and then we'll discuss more. Time for you, President Taatila.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be discussing with our partners in Hong Kong region after a while. I haven't actually been in Hong Kong since COVID, and I hope that I'll be able to visit you soon. I used to come there quite often because we worked in close cooperation with Vocational Training Council and the I. And if there are some of my former colleagues and friends, pleasure to see you again there.
Good.
And
Yeah,
let's
sure.
put this one on.
We have more collaboration in the future. Yeah.
Yes. So welcome to the virtual Finland and Turku University of Applied Sciences. And it was such a pleasure to hear Heidi's presentation. We work in close cooperation with Metropolia UAS, and we actually share very much the same kind of thinking. I always like to start from the very basics and the beginning. This is just a reminder. Of course, you are mainly University of Applied Sciences people also listening to this one. But a reminder that we have a dual model in the Finnish system where we have a legal requirements for the research universities and universities of applied sciences. And of course, UAS side is much more focused on industry requirements, while the universities are more focused on the research, academic research requirements. And as you can see, the part that we are missing is the doctoral education on UAS, professional doctorate, for example. But if I go to the practicalities, what is it that then UASs need to do is that I put here on the red the key issues, the applied research and innovation activities that promote industry, business, and regional development, and also regenerate the industrial structure of the region. So that is kind of our legal requirement, exactly like Heidi was just describing. And this differs us from most of the universities in the world. So where we are regional organizations working, promoting industry, business, and regional development. Now coming to Turku University of Applied Sciences, we are second or the third largest in Finland after Helsinki, and there's another colleague in Kaakkois-Suomi, but we are a little bit smaller, but not that much. We have about 12,000 students and about 900 staff members. And the number I'm most happy about is our employment rate, which is over 90%, and mainly on our own region. We would have about 95% employment rate unless we had fine arts program. And I think all the colleagues can understand that the artists are not normally hired right after graduation, so they become self-employed and they don't register in our employment rate. But practically all our graduates will be employed because we are able to provide exactly the kind of skills that are required in the current development of the industries and the regional organizations. Turku University of Applied Sciences, our strategic goal is very simple. If it's for the success of our region, we are doing the right thing. This is always what we consider. And the important part maybe here is that the students are not our customers. We never discuss about them as our customers, or we don't consider that as the primary objective is the success of the students. We always consider the success of the region as a primary objective, and the students are our partners in creating that kind of success. So we have a very different approach to, let's say, American approach, where it's only about the students, individual students, and providing them with the best possible future. We try to always integrate our students into our region. And how we do it, I put it here on the red, a couple of keywords, is that already our students are in deep cooperation with our partners. Everything we do with our external partners. So we don't do what we call curiosity-based research at all, like research universities mainly do, where the professor chooses the topic. But we only do development, innovation, and research work based on the industry needs. So every project that we do always has some kind of industry collaborator, normally several, and they will benefit from our work. And we also say that we don't do RDI work, we do DIR work, because it's development first, that leads to innovation, and sometimes we also need to do some applied research to reach those results. But the research is not the goal. The goal is always the development and innovations. So if I take a picture of our strategy, I know this is very generic, but of course there's a lot of thinking behind it. And the key word here is impact. Whatever we do, we want to create real impact for our region, for Finland, for global requirements. But the key issue is that there should never be research or education that doesn't aim to create a practical real-life impact into our own operations. We approach this through 4 strategic themes: green economy, a good life, our Baltic Sea, and being at home in the hybrid world. But these are the ones that guide into which directions we believe that our region is growing. We have actually agreed about these with the local industry, so that whenever we make a strategic update, we have hundreds of discussions with the industry leaders, small and medium-sized enterprises, about what are the key things that you see most important within the next 10 years in our region, in your own business, in your own operations. And then we concentrated those into these 4 topics. They are here in a bit more detail. I don't go into those right now, but if you get the slides, you can see them in there. What is, I think, the most important part in our operation is what we call innovation pedagogy. It's our integrated strategic model. We speak about pedagogy, but it's actually a strategic leadership model for University of Applied Sciences. And it's not only done at Turku University of Applied Sciences. I used to work at Metropolia. I know that they think very similarly in a lot of things, and there are several other universities of applied sciences that share in Finland these ideologies. So if we take the success of our region at the very heart of our operations, then we see that our external partners, our students and our staff members are there to support this holistic success for everybody in our region. And then what we do with curricula and RDI projects, or actually DIR projects, sorry, I miswrote it here, is that we use those as tools through our students, partners, and staff members to create the success to the region. I have a few examples of that one in a few minutes. But our students work immediately with our research, with our development projects, with our partners from the first year that they come to study us, because that is the best way for us to integrate our students into the organizations and at the same time get them at the very heart of their own development of their own field, so that they understand what the field will look like in the future, not to educate them about how it was before. And at the same time, we'll be able to provide very valuable input to our partners, providing them with the latest possible knowledge and the solutions to enhance their own business cases. We have 34 research groups at the moment. We will have about 40 probably by the end of this year. I don't go through these all in detail, but these are where we actually do our research and development and innovation work. So our each group is in constant discussion with the organizations in their own field, asking them what kind of development initiatives you would need from us, what kind of innovations you would like us to develop. And then based on that, we create our development, innovation, and research portfolio. We have about 280 projects ongoing right now with 2,000 something partners, 2,500, I think. Some examples that what we have done is that this is, I'll put this video running on the background, but I don't put the voices on. This has been very interesting. We have created our own industrial metaverse platform. And this is interesting, for example, because this has been done in cooperation with our own shipyard. We have one of the most, actually the most advanced shipyard in the world, producing the most advanced and the biggest cruise ships in the world, called Meyerwerft. It's a German company working in Turku. And this has been done with them in order to create a digital twin of all of their operations. But this has also been used, this metaverse, for example, in the harbor of Singapore, in educational purposes on how to operate run the harbor operations in Singapore. So it's a very effective metaverse platform that can be used in several ways. And because we own the IPRs and we have the people who have actually coded this, we are rather quick in developing it further right now. But this has been done exactly for the requirements of our partners, and Meyer and the shipyard and the logistical operations around it use it constantly on their own development issues. Here's actually, it pulls out. This is from the Singapore case that they use on how to treat hazardous materials. And as you can see, the defense industry is nowadays rather big in Finland as well. So we have some partnerships into that direction. The next slide. Then a totally different approach that we are working in close cooperation with the local environmental organizations is that we have a very endangered species, ringed seals, and we've been able to work with the environmental organizations to create these artificial nests for them, and they have approved them for the first time, so they've been able to produce baby seals in these artificial nests, and it has never happened before in the world with the ringed seals. And again, a very practical case, what kind of solutions we can provide. And again, this has been, our staff members have made the specifications for this with our students, and the students have actually been the ones who have built the nests, put them into operation, taken them into practice, done the measurements on how to get the seals to approve them as well as possible. Then another case, totally different field, dental prosthetics design, where we have created the mathematical models that were required from us by a couple of bigger players in dental prosthesis. They are European level, they have subsidiaries in Finland with whom we work on how to create the kind of new prosthetics and how can we create a digital platform in which to create these prosthetic designs so that we can print the prosthetics and not do them in a traditional way with a file and molding. Or again, a very different approach, a mobile app for identifying domestic violence and how to stop the domestic violence, because as we know, that's still a too big a thing globally, and we want to help everyone to have the good life as possible. So how can we stop the domestic violence as quickly, as efficiently as possible? And here we have worked with the social work organizations and the Finnish police, because they require us help on this field. An interesting area as well, because we have also the performing arts. So we are working with the local theaters, with the local small art groups on creating better employment opportunities for theater performers. And again, all of these cases are so done that they start from the need from our partners, then we take the students, staff members, create a solution, and then we put that into action with them, which creates a lot of learning opportunities. I was asked also about the challenges. Well, I like to misquote my way here. And yes, there have always been some things to be done, but not that many actually. Our staff members, our students are very enthusiastic to solve these problems, and we are very happy to provide this kind of service all the time to our partners and create our region more competitive in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have a rough idea about how the industry partnership and research, so maybe from RDI and also DIR, the difference in UAS. So we now open to the floor so that if you have any question, you can either type in the chat box, and also you can also raise your hand and ask both of our speakers. So we see that there is one question or comment about to Metropolia. So Dr. Rontu, are you here? Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
So if you read from the chat box, so is our colleague is interesting to understand about the industry collaboration. So so what are the challenges? So when we work with industry, we need our staff to contact them and proactively, not just they come to us, and also we go to them to make partnership with them. See whether you have any comment on this about how you can do it well.
So the question was about, if I understand correctly, was about the difficulties that to create these connections, collaboration with companies, if I understand correctly, and also the feedback back to companies. My understanding is that it's not a challenge as such. Companies that we work with are either they have contacted, they are our long-term partners. First of all, they know already how to work with us. Or then when we try to invite new partners, usually it starts by we organize, for instance, directly contact them. We organize perhaps events where we invite people from, if I just as referring to, I said, we're trying to now aim at also smaller companies and help them in their RDI needs. We might organize an event and invite, we might be in touch directly. Of course, with smaller companies, I guess the challenge is the maybe they have experience from having tried to find a partnership with a more science research-based university, and perhaps then their experiences haven't always been so positive. They have perhaps found themselves in a sort of a minor situation of being taken seriously as a partner. So that might then need convincing that we are very much interested in collaborating with them, and they are cordially invited to collaborate with us. So I guess that's sort of the you could perhaps call it the mental sort of convincing phase of establishing the partnership. But my understanding is that once they've sort of taken this step to want to work with us, because we also then almost without exception we involve our students, and I would perhaps say that this is also our strength. So the companies get to meet young people, usually enthusiastic young people, sort of the future of expertise, and they very much appreciate this because they also see that these are potential perhaps future employees, first of all, or perhaps their future partners in different ways. And I think this sort of student energy and enthusiasm also is very sort of enhancing in that sense, enhancing this collaboration. And I think they can, that way also, maybe it's easier for them to join us in different research projects. As to them getting the out of a project what they need, we are also there wanting to facilitate this, wanting to help them. What does this mean for you now? So we offer all the steps if they want to. So that's a process sort of depending on then what their needs are. Some companies obviously already have a plan. They already know how to implement things that they sort of find out to get working with us, whereas others perhaps it's their first time. So they might need also support then to implement this into their business, into action. So I hope I answered the question.
Thank you so much for your answer.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, so from my understanding, also based on your talk the day before yesterday, the questions are actually asked by the companies as in kind of open questions, kind of to put into some kind of question bank for the student to form groups and kind of solve them together. In my experience, especially in Asia, it's quite difficult to get companies to ask such questions, probably because those questions may give away the challenges they're facing, which can be
There is a question of
they
losing
can
your
kind
face.
of review maybe
Yeah.
to the competitors what exactly they're working on. Anyway, we tried similar approach in my university. By the way, I came from a university called Metropolitan University of Hong Kong. We share the same name. My experience is very difficult to get companies to originate, initiate a question. They rather be sitting back in the back to receive answers, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
So
yeah.
that's why I'm very inspired by your approach.
Well, I would just, as a brief comment to this, if I may, I could perhaps then refer to, since you were also listening to what I was presenting on Tuesday, I could then perhaps refer these Minno projects, because they are a very low threshold way for a company to connect with us. The questions, the challenge is there because it is for our bachelor students. So understandably, they cannot be very elaborate or very difficult. And that's a way for a company to get more self-confident in what you were just saying, in relying on us being a good partner. And also having the security in opening up your business and what your challenges are. So I think some of these, particularly perhaps smaller companies, where perhaps your business secrets need to be a secret so that you actually have your business. So I think this way that we can offer, first starting with the small step, with this very sort of student-centered, bachelor student-centered projects, and have a smaller challenge that you want us to solve, and they see how we work, we build trust, and then we can move forward. I totally understand the situation where you would like to have a proper research dilemma to solve. That it's a big thing, I can imagine, for a company to sort of open up and tell them, well, this is our problem, we need help here. So I guess that could be one way of I guess it's very much about building trust and having the personal connections also between people who work with research, for instance, and then the company representatives.
Thank you. So
thank you very
Professor
much.
Taatila, you have some response.
Yes, it's a very good question, and I think there's Heidi answered the key issues already, but a few additional notes is that I think that you need a lot of time to build this. It took about 15 to 20 years for us to build that kind of cooperation, both with the companies and with the staff members. So you must understand, we had to understand that the staff members normally came from a very traditional pedagogic approach where they take care of the teaching or the research based on their own needs and the thinking. And now that we turned it upside down, it took like 10 years probably to get a majority of staff members on board on that discussion. And at the same time, we had to have the discussion with our partners so that they really start to trust us on the strategic issues. So now with the best ones, we have about 30 organizations with whom we have almost weekly discussion about the strategic portfolio and direction. So we've been able to, we do exactly as Heidi said, that also that we have these very easy to read things, especially for small and medium-sized companies. And then with the bigger players, we have constant discussion about the strategic initiatives and what kind of R&D needs they have in the future. So we already, like the metaverse we are creating is something that Meyer Werft will be using for the next 10 years. So you have to have that kind of trust. And I think the key issue there, how do you build it, is that you must show them the real impact, that you can really create the results that they can see on their bottom line. They are not interested in just discussing with us, that when we can show them that, yes, this will benefit you financially, then there's no problem. But it takes, as I said, it takes years.
Yes, thank you. Professor Kuzma from St. Francis U. Is that your comment or question?
Yes, thank you. I've been listening to all the 3 seminars and I've been very, very interested. I'm from Finland, and thank you, Professor Taatila, and Professor Rontu, and also the other keynote speakers. I've been here at the St. Francis now since we became University of Applied Sciences. Before that, I was at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. What Professor Taatila just said, the last comment was, it will take time. It will take time. And I think the universities of applied sciences in Hong Kong, who are now just transforming and transferring to that status, will learn a lot from Finnish universities, but also other European universities of applied sciences, where the systems are quite different from each other as well. I don't think there's one mold where we all fit in. But I think what Professor Taatila said very strongly, as did Professor Rontu, is this RDI, research, development, and innovation. Research not for its own sake. The impact is in the society, in the community, in the industry, not as an impact factor in the journals, which I think the traditional universities still very, very much emphasize. So I would like to see here the transformation to the real impact. And the impact comes from the learning teaching approach, collaboration. And I think it starts from us, teachers. That is but I was very excited to come here. I was in University of Applied Sciences in Finland my last 4 years, where I learned, after being in Science University, I learned what it really is and how it works. And so I'm very excited to be in these seminars and with Hong Kong UAS to go forward in this development. Really looking forward to, and thank you very much all the speakers and the hosts. I've been really enjoying this. Thank you.
Thank you. When you mentioned about impact, I think it is very important for us because in Hong Kong, the UAS, we are more and more thinking about how to evaluate. Is there any effectiveness matrix to measure impact? Is it different from Hong Kong and Finland? Can we hear more from both of you about the matrix and to measure the impact in Finland?
Would you like to go first, Heidi?
Vesa, you can take this. I have a little bit another point, so you go first.
Okay. Actually, the measurement and especially the academic advancement tends to be the problem in the research universities in Finland and in Europe. And that is why I just put on the chat link that I recommend you to have a look at. We have a very strong European thing going on called COARA right now, where the idea is that it gives suggestions on how to measure academic success through other means than the publications, which are nice, but when we are creating regional impact with the corporations, the publications tend not to be read by our organizations in our industry, at least in Turku region. I think the key issue for us, as I always speak about impact, is that how well do our partners grow? What is under their bottom line? And that is what we measure. We try to understand how well they advance and if we have been able to produce them some additional positive results. That's a key issue.
And if I could perhaps then continue, just add here that the precisely as Vesa was saying, that's the core, I would say, of universities of applied sciences. And just as a reference to, I worked before I came to Metropolia, I worked actually basically all my career also as a researcher in science universities. And I think the biggest difference looking at it from very strictly looking at it from a RDI perspective is that in science universities, because the main focus is on providing new knowledge, there's also strong autonomy in what you choose as what you do research on. You can have company partners, but always perhaps I'm a little bit sort of creating sort of, you know, maybe emphasizing this a little bit too much, but nevertheless, companies, if your research needs companies, now not the other way around necessarily, or actually not the other way around. Not if the company needs the research to grow, but rather if you as a researcher need the companies to pilot something, to get data, to advance your own research. And this has to do very strongly with the research autonomy. And it absolutely has its place. But as I think as Vesa was saying, I liked your what was it, DRI? I like that very much. Yeah, I like that because the focus is on development and on understanding the societal role and the societal sort of place that Universities of Applied Sciences in Finland have. And this is perhaps creating the biggest difference and also the main sort of reason for existence for Universities of Applied Sciences in Finland, at least. Just to emphasize this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I may still
Yeah,
continue from there, it's okay. Sure. Because one very practical thing, and again, a very short, long-term thing that you must consider is that the hiring practices are probably the most important thing that you can do in a University of Applied Sciences. If you hire based on academic publications, you will get people who are good in writing academic publications. We require a certain academic level for our positions, but we put much more emphasis nowadays on the industry results. Have these people been able to produce actual results? And if they have, it actually means that they already have excellent networks on the industries. So that is also one way to hasten the process a bit. Hire people who know the industries and who the industries trust, and then it's much easier to contact them.
Yeah, thank you. So actually, this is one of the key discussion topic yesterday about staff development, and because of the different nature background of the staff for UAS, that when we hire them more with experience in industry, and so what are the different staff training for them? Yeah, yesterday we talked about this. Is that we also have received a comment or a question from Sandeep. Sandeep, I think, is from QUT in Australia. What are the key criteria for smaller companies to qualify as partners? As we just hear from Metropolia, that even smaller companies are good partners. So is that both of you have any comment on this?
If I may continue it, I'll start.
Yeah.
We don't have a specific criteria. The key criteria is that do they want to partnership with us? In Finland, we have about 500,000 companies altogether. In our own region, somewhere in about 40,000 level. So we have enough potential partners. And if they contact us and they want to cooperate with us, do our DIR work, we are normally very happy with that one. Then the question is, are they committed? Is it so important for them that they want to put their own skin in the game, which means normally money into our pocket? If they are happy to share some level of financial responsibility for the project, because we can't do these things based on the state funding only. And if they contact us, if they have money for I think we have taken all of that kind of partners. And then we have even started new research groups if it's such an area that we don't have a research group going on yet with them. And one more criteria that we try to do, it doesn't always succeed, but we hope that we'll be able to, if they are smaller companies, we are able to collect a network of companies on roughly the same field, so that we don't only support one individual company, but we are there to also create a platform, knowledge platform for that topic.
I have one follow-up observation. That it seems that in Turku, the vice rector international joined a lot of board of directors in different companies. Is that one of the strategy that to use to understand more of the industry?
Yes, we have the huge added value. You must remember always that Finland is not a country. We are a country club. We are so small a group that we are smaller than way smaller than Hong Kong. Everybody knows everybody, especially when you come to the region. We have right now going on our business festival of this region. And this morning when I came here, I met the top 100 regional directors of the industry, credit them everybody because I know them everybody. My vice rector is even better than me on that one. He knows absolutely everybody, and he knows also their parents. So, you know, we are totally connected.
Good, thank you. Heidi?
Yes, I could. Yeah, that was good. That's perhaps specifically for Western Finland. So coming to the capital area, you can't really know everybody. Yeah, but we are a country club. I really like that, Vesa. That was good. Yes, we have actually this criteria. I'm sorry I wasn't able to find it here quickly, and it's all, on our intranet, so I can't easily attach it here. But what I can tell about is roughly what Vesa was saying. But we have actually worked out different levels. We have what we call partnership criteria. And we actually, now that we have partners, we always also try to, we actually invite them to have a contract with us. It's nothing sort of legally very binding in itself. It's more sort of a manifestation of the partnership that we are sort of establishing. And there you have different levels. So where we sort of are looking for so also so that the company knows what the company can get from us. And then they have sort of a possibility to a little bit think about, reflect over what they want, what they need with the help of this criteria. So we have sort of a lighter version, and then you go deeper and deeper. And one thing that I specifically maybe want to mention here is that in this part of this criteria is also the student involvement. And I want to bring this up. Well, obviously, I'm responsible for education, so I very much like that. But I wanted to have it there. But I think this is also something that I very much want to sort of, in that sense, emphasize, because this also gives for the company. It seems to be, we've received a lot of positive feedback. So that they actually also they see their part. They also have responsibilities that we have our students. If it is okay for them to have our students in the projects that we have with them, they also they need to sort of have their responsibility for whatever level they want to have for involvement with our students. And this is something that actually have, to my understanding, have opened the eyes for some companies, particularly smaller companies, but the benefit of student work as part of a development project, for instance. So I just want to particularly mention that here. Yeah,
May I confirm in Metropolia, is that our PhD program or not?
Pardon, I didn't hear the beginning of your question.
In Metropolia,
yes,
is that PhD program or doctoral program?
As Vesa was explaining, we do not have nationally.
Yes, that's my question. I just want to confirm, because when we talk about research project or development project, not actually a prior research project, and we depend much on the staff, faculty members, as they come from the industry and know about a lot about and have the network to do so. But at the same time, both of you mentioned about involve the student in those projects, and you think that it is good that the industry like those young teenagers to that. But my thinking is more a challenge rather than a benefit, because of undergraduate programs. For undergraduate students, before they learn much and they involve in this kind of industry projects, is not easy, right? Just want to see whether it is actually.
Yeah, very briefly, and Vesa can then continue. Yes, obviously, in this project, we don't only have bachelor students. We have obviously our researchers, our staff who have a research background, obviously. It's sort of a good mix of people with different proficiency and knowledge levels, I would perhaps emphasize. And then just a brief comment, we are currently working on the development, our dual model, with the aim of also creating the third level education step also for University of Applied Sciences. And let's see how it goes. That's the national sort of hot topic currently. Thank you.
If I continue from there, and we did a small study about a year ago with the Finnish industries, and about 80 to 85% of the development, innovation, and research hours done in the industries is actually done by bachelors and masters.
Oh, really?
Only a very, very small amount of the industry research is done by doctors. And I actually think that it's somewhat the same in Hong Kong as well. If you go to into the companies, there are the professors, you have more doctors in the companies than we do as the bigger share, but still the majority of the work is actually done by bachelors and masters. So in that sense, we can actually do exactly the kind of work that they have the biggest amount of need. An example of what we do, what just Heidi said, is that if we send a team with 1 or 2 our staff members and maybe 10 of our students to work with a company, it's quite often that the staff members work with the company to define the problem and find the rough direction of the solution, have the students involved there as well. But then students can do the coding, which is the hard work, making the actual solution for them. And bachelor level students are rather good at that. And not all of our professors are always so interested to do the basic level coding any longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because yesterday we talked about the curriculum and industry integration, that most of the UAS, their students are compulsory to do internship, placement. For this, yes, it's sure that our students involve a lot in workplace and to understand the work experience. But when we talk about involve into the development projects, and see we still have some hesitation or reservation about whether undergraduate students are good at it. But now we hear from you, very good, that actually this is a good way to go for that. And for Hong Kong, before that we say that we have towards the development of UAS, and still nearly all of the university, they go towards the traditional university, and they all have doctoral program. And in Hong Kong, recently we have 2 university have carried the title, just last year carried the title by the government, called UAS, but they both have the PhD program. And seems that is Hong Kong is a bit learning from the long history from Europe and what it is. So what UAS, we try to hear a lot and learn from the experience. But at the same time, we also have some previous experience on how we manage the higher education. So while we are going towards UAS, so we still want to learn more from, see whether PhD program is a challenge or a problem, or is actually not quite a problem, but it's okay. So,
yes.
Okay, let me see if there is any. It seems that there is not new comments. Yes, but I have another question about the funding. The funding in Hong Kong, I say Hong Kong because we want to learn from you. So sure, you can share your experience. That the funding, there are the government funding for traditional university. We call it a University Grant Council, that are mainly the funding from the government. And there is the funding council that they compete for funding and grants. But for now, the UAS is more like by the self-finance university. They compete for this UAS title. So that's the trend going to be what we are. So we just want to see for UAS in Finland, how is the funding the mechanism is that? Because yesterday when we hear from Thailand is nearly 100, and also Germany, only 10% is from the student tuition fee. Even UAS is in Switzerland, but 90% is from the government actually. And so what is the situation in Finland about the funding for development projects and others?
If I may start, okay.
Sure.
Firstly, we get about, especially I speak now from the case of Turku University of Applied Sciences because I remember the numbers, but I think it's pretty much the same roughly the same for everybody. First of all, we are limited liability corporation. So I'm also the president of a corporation at the same time as I'm a rector of a university. And we must produce positive results because of that one. Our funding comes 70% actually in the case of Turku comes from the state of Finland, but it's not a given funding as such because we have a very competitive funding model. We have 100% competitive funding model where we have the state has defined 10 metrics on which we compete between all the UASs in Finland. So it's a zero-sum game. If we gain a bit, someone else loses. So it's a fierce competition for that one. The rest 30% come from different sources. For us, the second biggest source are the development, innovation and research funds, which if the state funding for us is about 60 million euros, we get about 13 to 40 million euros this year from these sources. We have a national funding sources like Business Finland and Academy of Finland, which support the competitive funding. And then we also use quite a lot of European funding schemes from which we applied for funding. There's also the part that I mentioned earlier that we are happy to work with the companies that are willing to share their funds with us. So we get a small amount of funding also directly from the companies, but quite often they are combined to some state funding so that we applied together to get a state funding for some competitive development issue. We are not allowed to collect tuition fees from the students from within Europe. It's not allowed by the law, but we are required to collect fees from the students from outside the European Union. And this year we are going to get at Turku about 6 million euros tuition fees from those students that come from outside European Union. But it's so I think the competitive funding model takes care of this approach that you normally get from the tuition fees because the students know this system and we only get money if they graduate and if they are happy when they graduate. So we do our best to keep them happy and graduate on time. Roughly, that is how funding goes.
Student as a partner, not as a client.
Yes, exactly. They are not customers, they are partners.
Right. So similar to Metropolia, right?
Yes, I have nothing to add. Vesa basically, it is exactly, it's as Vesa was saying, it's a fierce competition. So if somebody loses or if somebody gains, somebody loses. So they have this, let's put it this way perhaps, that the way for University of Applied Sciences in Finland to grow, also financially, is to find other funding sources. Let's put it this way: private and other funding, whatever other funding sources. That's the way.
And another question is about the research agenda, the applied research agenda. We know that you already show us about so for example in Turku the 4 themes, so very different from Hong Kong. But some of them are similar, like the good life, and also in Metropolia showing about the health. And actually for Tung College, and 80% of our program and student composition is in health and medical services. So this one align very much. But you are more like in a country, for example, about the sea life and about the ocean and about all this that we do not have much in that. And any special that you already have in mind that about the applied research in the future 10 years, there should be something that we need to work hard on that, no matter it is in Europe, in Finland, or in Hong Kong. But this is important as actually as a university, and it should be work together to go towards this and make it good. And see whether you can share some of your ideas with us about in this area, research agenda or research topics, research direction that is good to all.
Well, from Turku point of view, I think, as I described earlier, we always speak with our partners.
Right.
So we can't tell, let's say 10 years is pretty much the limit into which we can aim at. When you do basic research, you can think of what happens in 30 years if you do physics, for example. You can think in a longer term. But in our case, I think we normally aim to about 5 years in the future.
Good.
And so that is very regional question. What I visited Hong Kong is that you have somewhat different problems with your organizations than we have, and they are solving different kind of questions. So I think the most important thing from my point is always to speak with those that you want to partner with and then fulfill their needs. And one thing that might be, again, it's a country-specific thing, but it's a huge advantage to us, and this I always success to every foreign UAS, is to try to get an autonomous curriculum. Because I absolutely love it that when our partners say that they need something in the future, we can immediately change our curricula to answer those needs. A lot of countries have some kind of legally binding curricula needs, or it's given by the ministry. And that slows everything down so much that I would not know how to do these things.
See.
But sorry, I didn't answer the question, but
no problem. Yes, yeah, this is already good comment.
I could perhaps add that was very, very good. The curriculum aspect is really important, because then you can actually incorporate it to your education, and you can then sort of promise that you will answer to this need of new expertise or whatever in a fairly swift manner, and not waiting for 30 years or something, but it's actually going to happen quite soon. That's one thing. But I guess what I perhaps would like to say is that, and what I very much appreciate in University of Applied Sciences in Finland is the flexibility. So what I was trying to point that out, particularly, for instance, at Metropolia, that we have changed how we are internally organized as to the RDI or DRI, and we can change again, depending on the possibilities or the needs, rather, the needs and where we want to target, what is our focus, and we can see the needs in society and industry, and we can change the focus swiftly, flexibly. And this is something that I would perhaps like to particularly emphasize, that I hope you can create a system, an organization that is adjustable, is flexible. And also adding to this, as I was also in leadership positions in universities of science universities, that you can actually also lead a university. So the academic autonomy, there needs to be obviously autonomy in higher education. So no political, no financial aspects are sort of impacting directly into what you do your research in. That's obviously, or your education, how you develop education. That's very important. That's sort of, at least in Europe, it's a European value. So, but autonomy is easily interpreted to having autonomy in absolutely everything. And this is a huge difference, I would say. This is my personal experience in between science universities, universities of applied sciences in Finland. You can actually lead a university of applied sciences, whereas a science university, you need to convince, you need to argument for your choices on the leadership level, to get the professors, to get the deans, and to get everybody involved. And it's a long process. It takes time. So I would perhaps end with this.
Very good advice.
I couldn't agree more with you. I had always said that I could not lead a research university in Finland. I would not understand how it works, how we can make something there. I love this dictatorship that we have in the UASs, as long as I'm the dictator.
I'll just...
Well, dictatorship in a positive note. I hope you understand what Vesa means. Yeah.
Just curious for Turku, that in your presentation you mentioned about performing arts and theater performance. To our understanding, maybe we just are still learning about UAS. Is that more focused on the science topic, the management, engineering, medical, and others? Is that just more opportunities or more programs, or is that performing arts you see as one of the important discipline in Turku?
Yes, we definitely do. And actually Metropolia has the same thing as well. Performing art or the arts, different types of arts are extremely important from my point of view to creating a good life, because we often consider good life. We start by thinking that you must be healthy, but it's not a good life if you are just healthy. It's a nice start, but then it's a question of what kind of value can you bring to the life. And that's why we have the music program, and we have performing arts, and we have fine arts programs. So that we can actually create something giving the value to the inhabitants of our region. We have, for example, the only circus program in the Finnish higher education that I'm very happy about. And there we educate bachelor master students who first they become circus performers, and then they also become the circus instructors so that they can teach the young people in that field, and with the same with all the performing arts and the music, etc. So we see that also as an important topic. It's a small faculty with us, the Arts Academy, but at the same time, it's very, very powerful. That's the part that I can't touch. My dictatorship doesn't go into that direction. If I would start to touch our Arts Academy and say that I have to cut their funding, every politician in our region would call me immediately, because that is seen so important in our society.
Right.
So, but we don't do so much research on this topic. We do continuous development on the topic. It's very practical development. As the example that I showed is how can they get the livelihood if they are small groups of circus performers or performing art professionals, because it's not the easiest way to live on.
So it is no difference. We can apply the UAS principles for applied education in this area.
And I could perhaps add, because we have also cultural, we don't have circus or we don't have dance, but we do have a lot of cultural studies. I think we're the biggest cultural studies provider in the country, as in the US level. So it's exactly as Vesa was saying, but then also our sort of fields in arts, what we have is something that we also combine, for instance, into our innovation hubs. So there's cultural well-being. What can music do for well-being, for instance, is one thing. So there's actually a research partnership there that we have, for instance, with a science university in Finland and also in Europe. So there is the possibility to find, and it's very important actually to incorporate culture. As Vesa was saying, how can we have a sustainable well-being if we don't understand the importance of culture in all this? So yeah.
Yes, thank you for the comment. We see one comment here about the PhD program. So we know that UAS do not have the PhD program, but as mentioned in the Turku case, that this is a dual track. Is that an articulation for UAS graduates to go to get a PhD program in the traditional university? Is that this dual track? Is that there is some kind of connection or articulation from Turku UAS, and is Turku University is some kind of connection on that, or no? Just they can choose anyone to go.
We have a lot of cooperation in the PhD programs, as we can't provide them ourselves. We have agreements with the University of Turku and the Swedish-speaking University of Turku, Åbo Academy. And then we have about a dozen partnerships within European universities about these PhD programs. We also have these what we call doctoral schools that we work in cooperation with the local research universities, so that we do the development and innovation work, and then the local university is providing with a professor to do the education for the doctoral part, so that they will actually give the doctoral title in the end and take care of the education of the doctoral student. But then it's done within our project. Because we don't have that right to produce our own PhDs or professional doctorates, it's kind of a bubblegum system that we have to put on together. So it's not the easiest possible way. And our students are sometimes struggling to get to these PhD programs because, as Heidi earlier said, they have a huge autonomy of the professors within research universities. And if a professor decides that I don't want to get this kind of a student, then it's very little that they can do at the university leadership level.
I see, right. So something similar to Metropolia. Right. And we talk about a lot about collaboration and more about companies in Finland. Today, we also want to focus. One is international networking. So in your university, how you have the strategies in doing the international networking, and in what way that you do? Can you share more about your way and or challenges when you do it from your university point of view? And we say international, actually, is that more like in Europe is already very international within Europe, and what are the collaboration with that, or you have more collaboration outside Europe? President Taatila just already mentioned that at the beginning, you have been Hong Kong for a few times before the COVID. And actually, is that part of your work in this international exchange and networking?
That definitely is. We are constantly looking for partners in development, innovation, and research work globally. We quite work with several countries. I'm actually probably coming to China in July. Let's see how it goes. Xiamen this time. And I hope that I'll be able to pop into the Hong Kong after a while as well. But we are always looking for these partners. That is actually an interesting question outside Europe, is that we would like to find much more DIR partners. We actually have quite a lot of student exchange partners and staff exchange partners, but finding these project partners is, for us at least, much more difficult because of the funding schemes, for example. How can we fund this cooperation? We have interesting things going on in Brazil right now. We have things going on in Southern Africa with several countries. And of course, but the majority of our partnerships are within Europe, because in Europe we have centralized funding schemes, Horizon Europe, etc. We also have two unofficial partnership networks within Europe with whom we do the development and innovation work. But that's also interesting because even there we don't want to start to do it based on the academic goals. So we always require that our partners also find the local companies that are involved, that will be involved. And we work as a bridge, building bridges between, for example, with our Dutch partners and the companies in their region and with the companies in our region, and try to get them to create more international business. And that is maybe the most interesting part of our international networking.
Good. So what about Metropolia?
Yes, precisely as Vesa was saying, I perhaps would like to add on that we have now in Europe these that European Union has promoted, which are called European University Alliances, and Metropolia is part of one alliance. This is actually currently ongoing seminar for our alliance partners here on our campus. So I've been waving here to people who were walking past here, but and we are actually coordinating this alliance. There are almost 70 alliances, and they have been chosen by very strict sort of admission criteria and admission process. And these alliances now then sort of enhance in a new way the collaboration within the EU higher education area. And as in our alliance, for instance, all the universities are universities of applied sciences. So we are very much also, all of us in our regions, connected to industry. So that's the current sort of most craving and most effort from us at Metropolia currently, since we are also coordinating this alliance. So that would then be what is sort of on the European agenda currently for us. But of course, there are also other collaborations that we have in Europe and also globally. So we are, through our education functions, we are also building partnerships with, particularly actually in, what you could say in Asia and Middle East, perhaps, are the main focus areas. And we are there creating different kinds of models for creating education together. Just to mention one, different forms of franchising, for instance, is ongoing currently. So there's a long list of things that we are doing, but there are some examples. Yeah, I don't know if this was the kind of collaboration that you were looking for, or.
Yeah, that just learn from you.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
we have international. We don't know because in Hong
Yeah.
Kong that is one of the matrix that we measure the successfulness of UAS, and I think also in QS in the international ranking, internationalization is one of the measurement they have for duration. And we have a lot of collaboration with Turku. Actually, we have in my center for the advisory committee that we have Mayu in our advisory committee, and we do research and research. And I think this is very good that in the future that we can have more collaboration. And when you talk about the agreement that to work with other organizations and also institutions in Hong Kong, that we do also a lot, we call it the MOU, the mutual agreement of understanding. And I think this is a way for more collaboration. We don't know because politics always change from US and Europe, and don't know Hong Kong is part of China, whether it is welcoming to have more collaboration or not. We don't know. It always changes. Yeah. But just I think from the academic point of view, as an institution, we want to have more collaboration. And I think this is very important for innovation, development, and contribute to society and to community. I think this is important. And I think most of question we have mentioned, most question we have mentioned, maybe we can stop here. We thank very much for our distinguished speakers today. And for the last 3 days that we have all the audience, they come from Hong Kong and also from Australia, Finland, and different places, Switzerland. And we try to learn from you, and it is the beginning of Hong Kong with the UAS development. The more that we can hear, because in the past that we have some traditional way of thinking about university. Once we want to change, it seems that we still need to adjust to what we are doing. Especially you mentioned about those variable advice about the flexibility change. We first hear about this. We can change all the time. 10 years is too long. 5 years is okay. So all this are very good advice. Actually, very valuable experience for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My
Thank you
great
very
pleasure.
much. Thank you
Yeah.
very
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
So,
Take care.
thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye. And we have the survey for the audience. You spend a minute or two to complete it so that we can improve in the future. So thank you very much for joining us for the last few days. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us.